This right here is the craziest lens for wedding photographers and video creators. And let's go behind the scenes to talk more about it. Thanks to Movavi for sponsoring this video. So I've spent the past couple of months with this lens. I did originally review it when it came out. I was in Iceland and wasn't really in a wedding environment. The portraits did look good, the landscapes looked good, but I don't think I really realized how beneficial and useful this lens would be for weddings. That is until this shoot right here. So going into this shoot, I have access to two lenses. I have two Sony lenses. I have three. This wide angle lens I'm recording this video on. The first one, the 28 to 70 f2, incredible lens. Lots of people will tell you that's the one lens they put on their camera and they don't ever take it off. It's just an entire wedding day on that one lens. And then I had this lens, this 50 to 150 f2. And that's right, f2. No 2.8, just a straight f2. It's this big, it is bigger. It's quite expensive also. And I thought it was going to be a replacement more for a 70 to 200 and not so much a replacement for my 28 to 70 f2. And I'm curious, for a lens like this 50 to 150 f2, do you think the cost is worth the convenience and the quality? Or if you should just be shooting prime lenses instead and keeping the weight down a little bit and also some money back in your pockets? I feel like this combines so many lenses that maybe the financial side, you're probably still gonna spend a lot for the convenience of having it all in one lens. But overall, if you're collecting a lot of different prime lenses, you might end up being in the same ballpark for price. But let me know down below if this is something that you would consider, or if you would love to have it, but you don't wanna spend the money on it, or even if you have the money available, that it's not a lens that you're gonna buy. I'm curious. Now, if you are a photographer and you're thinking about doing video, so the technical, you have a lens like this, you can make beautiful video clips. It's no problem at all. But where it does become a challenge is in editing. And you probably don't want to spend a lot of money on expensive video editing software as well as learning a complex program. And if this sounds like you, I'm going to put a link down below to Movavi. It's a very simple to use editor that's going to do everything you need for basic wedding films that you could shoot with this 50 to 150 f2. The learning curve is really just flattened. It's no longer a curve, it's just a flat line. You can be up and running in just a few minutes, and it is so much less expensive than other software out there on the market. I'm not going to get too much into editing within this video, but if you are interested in seeing a full edit in Movavi, there's going to be a link floating above me right here, as well as at the end of this video. There'll be a video you can click to learn more. The versatility of a 50 to 150 has really surprised me. So I think a lot of us are told that a 50mm lens, you can shoot an entire wedding day with it. And that might be true, yes. But there are definitely times that I want something a little bit longer, and also times that I want something a little bit wider. Is this a replacement for every lens in your bag? No. But I think with a 24mm prime and this, you could be pretty well covered. You can also do the path that I've chosen, at least for the first part of this year, which is the 28 to 70 f2 as well as this. But I find myself reaching for this 50 to 150 a lot more often than the 28 to 70 f2. Even though it is a wonderful lens, when thinking about this Iceland trip, I really only wanted to bring one lens. So officially, this was a golf trip. We were going golfing in Iceland.
Oh, we both went for it. Oh, yeah.
It was a great time, and while we were there, we also decided to do a few shoots actually. This one involving a hot dog, which is a bit weird, but this one from the trampoline went really well on Instagram.
We are gathered here today on this trampoline.
And then I also did shoot more images with this 50 to 150 that I really love, and the size of it, initially, I was like, is this really a travel lens that I'm gonna bring back to Iceland after carrying it around Iceland for 2 weeks the first time? And when I thought about it, it's actually really nice to have a long lens in mountainous environments. I feel like I am always one that just wants to include absolutely everything in an image. So that means that if I have a 28 to 70, I'm probably gonna shoot most of the photos that I take at 28 because it just feels the most natural for me. Optically though, I prefer an image at 50 at f2, and even though the 28 to 70 can do that shot, I find myself gravitating towards the wider end all the time and almost forgetting to zoom in. And I kind of enjoy the limitation of the fact that this is a 50 on the wide end, and I just have to start there and take a few steps back. When it comes to the build quality, I have taken off, there's a tripod foot on the bottom. I think that's the first thing I did. It is on this collar. This collar does not come off, but it rotates. If you are on the cinema side of things, you can do click and no click for your aperture. So if you want smooth aperture controls, you can do that. I leave it on click, but I also lock it off completely. I also don't really change any of these buttons. So there are buttons. My friend Paul Giroux, he sets one of these, I think, to APS-C crop mode. So he can very easily just go into crop mode with his hand that's already on the lens. For me, I don't use them for anything. I also leave this on autofocus all the time because the Sony autofocus on the A7 IV is amazing, no complaints at all. And if I ever do need to override, I just tap. It is nice to have a physical button. I'll tell you when I use it. I haven't used it yet. I use it on wider angle lenses a lot. If I'm doing astro or if I'm doing a shot that I see somebody's about to walk in front of the scene and I want to lock it off so the video doesn't track focus to them. It is nice to have. I like having that physical button so I don't have to dig through menus to enable it or map it to one of the custom buttons. The zoom ring is nice. And as you'll see, internal zoom. Wonderful. On the front, you do have a focus ring, but again, I just touch the back of the screen if I do want to track something to focus. And then the front element. So it is a 95mm front thread. It's quite large. You probably don't have any, unless if you're into landscapes, maybe you have a square filter or something, but a 95mm filter is one that I don't own. If you are doing video, so maybe this gets into the controversial part of this video. So for me doing hybrid photo video coverage, I don't use ND filters. I talked about this on the video last Monday. And what I do instead is I am conscious over my shutter speed. I do like to shoot everything at f2. Everything you've seen in this video, I think, has been shot at f2. And I do my best not to cap out my shutter speed at 1/8000 of a second, because that's gonna be a giveaway. People are gonna start to stutter. Basically, an ND filter is gonna slow the light coming down into your lens, just a dark piece of glass that goes over your lens. When the light comes through your lens, you're able to get a shutter speed that more replicates the human eye. For me right now, I am at 1/400th of a second, so if my hand is moving and I stop the frame, you can see that my hand is entirely crisp. And that's not right. But did you care about the shutter speed of this video before I mentioned it right now? Probably not. I find that if I am conscious over not moving my camera too much, so if I was trying to pan around and act like this was on a Steadicam, you would see that things moving by the lens would be in too crisp a focus and it would look very jittery and not right. Or if I was a very fast car moving across, I'm not gonna AI that. If I was a very fast car moving across the scene and I was shooting at 1/8000 of a second, it would be very, like every single frame would be really crisp. What you want is that nice cinematic blur in between frames. So you don't want everything just crisp all the time. You want that natural blur. And the technical is for shutter speed for video that you're supposed to be shooting double your frame rate. So if you're at 60 frames a second, like I am on wedding days, I should be shooting 1/120 of a second for shutter speed. And that will give me the most cinematic, natural feeling look. But it's hard to do that if you're also doing photography because you don't want motion blur always in your photography. So what I do is I just don't worry too much about my shutter speed. If I can shoot roughly close to what I should be at, great, awesome. If I can't, that's fine too. Some of the things that I do is I don't move my camera at all, but I'm just locked off and I'm not gonna be moving the camera left or right. There might be some handheld movement, but I'm not trying to track a subject across a room. I'm also never moving the camera fast like I'm on a Steadicam. I'm not doing any crash zooms. And I think the footage being in slow motion also really helps. When I can shoot the correct shutter speed for my frame rate, I'm happy to do that. But in real life, it is a little more difficult when you're doing photography coverage as well. When it comes to the autofocus, I think it's the fastest motors that Sony makes are in, at least for autofocus lenses like this, they're in there and it's pretty much instant. I feel like now you just get absolutely no misses when it comes to autofocus with Sony when you're paired with a professional level GM lens like this. The rendering of the images, I really love. I feel like it is just an overall great feeling image. It feels very beautiful and very wedding appropriate. I do like to shoot everything at f2. I like the subject separation and I feel like it just makes for a prettier image overall, which really supports wedding work. And the only downside of this lens is the cost and potentially also the weight. It is a larger lens, but it's not, I wouldn't consider it to be really heavy. You might want to invest in a battery grip if you do want this lens to balance a little bit better on one of the Sony bodies. But all things considered, I think you're gonna love this lens. So there is the craziest lens for wedding photographers and video creators. It's wonderful, I love it. Montana says that this is a chip dip bowl. The lens hood is so large, you can put your chip dip in it and eat your chips on a wedding day. Let me know down below how you feel about the existence of this lens. Would you spend the money on it? Would you not spend the money on it? And also down below, there is a link to Movavi for you to get started with your free trial right now. There's also a video floating on the screen. If you want to click it and watch a more in-depth editing session with it, you can do that. But otherwise, link is down there. Get started with your free trial right now.